The Atlanta Hawks have committed to their core in many ways this summer, extending Trae Young, extending Kevin Huerter, re-signing John Collins, and extending Clint Capela. But ultimately, this now leaves them in a scenario where they have 4 players locked up for the next 4 to 5 years on big money. That leaves the team still having to pay guys like Wagner Mcdonough if they want to retain him, DeAndre Hunter, and Reddish and Onyeka Okongwu, as well as Jalen Johnson 4 years down the road. Ultimately, the Atlanta Hawks have made a lot of moves towards securing their future, but they now have even harder decisions to make over the next couple of summers to figure out who they want to add and keep alongside this group, and how much they want to go into the luxury tax. Today, I want to talk about some of these extensions they have made this summer and some of the other moves they are going to have to consider in their next offseason or two. That being said, if you do go on to enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new, and be sure to let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below on the Atlanta Hawks contract situation. That being said, let's go ahead and talk about the Atlanta Hawks and the contracts they have signed this summer. Let's start with the most notable of their signings this summer, and that of course is the extension of Trae Young, getting his rookie max deal. He is now under contract until 2026-27, making him a member of the Atlanta Hawks for the next 6 years and guaranteeing him $180 million. Ultimately, he is the superstar of this Atlanta Hawks team. He is the key piece to this group being a contender down the line. And so having him locked up was crucial. It was inevitable and is a good piece of business for both sides. The most unexpected, or I shouldn't say unexpected, but unsure piece of business for the Atlanta Hawks this summer was John Collins going into restricted free agency. There was talks of sign-in trades, there was talks of offer sheets, and ultimately none of that happened. They agreed. He is now signed for the next 5 years at $125 million, a cap hit of $25 million on average. Ultimately, is a good deal for both sides. John Collins was very good in the playoffs. He's shown to the league that he can get buckets, but he also showed in the playoffs last year he can rebound, he can be a solid rim protector, and can give you that effort on the defensive end, which is not something we have seen from John Collins really until last year's playoffs. And so he showed his worth, he showed his value, and ultimately got paid deservingly so. I'm glad he didn't get a max, because John Collins isn't even one of those guys that is like, he's not max level, but you have to give a max to retain him. That's kind of like the DeAndre Aytons, the Tobias Harrises of the world. John Collins isn't quite at that level, in my opinion, but he's still got his money. He's got $125 million in his bag guaranteed, but the Atlanta Hawks get to maintain him at a bit more of a flexible price. Kevin Huerter was the extension just on the deadline day, signing a 4-year extension that now over the next 5 years will have him earning $69 million, making around $15 to $16 million on his 4-year deal per season. Kevin Huerter, I think, is a good piece to have locked up long term. Wagner Mcdonough is only guaranteed to be on the roster for the next 2 years. He does have a player option in 2023-24, which he may or may not opt into, depending on his production and health at that point in time. But Kevin Huerter is the long-term running mate alongside Trae Young, or if they decide to keep Wagner Mcdonough, then to have Kevin Huerter be a good spark plug and shooter and scorer for them off of the bench. He's a very valuable part of this team, a very good floor space, a very good shooter, can play make a little bit. Defending has improved a little bit since he's came into the NBA. I think it's a good deal to have him locked up long term. And then Clint Capela was an extension throughout the season as well, which now has him under contract for 4 years. He will make $78 million over the course of those 4 years, making himself one of the top 10 paid centers in the NBA, and deservedly so, as he fits in very well with this team. A very good rim protector, very good rebounder, and fits in very well in pick and rolls and playmaking lobs at the rim with Trae Young. But now we have to think about the future, because the Atlanta Hawks have a lot of money tied up already. In the 2024-25 season, this team only has 5 players under contract, one of which is Jalen Johnson at $4.5 million, and have $104.7 million committed in salary cap. And in 2025-26, with only 3 players under contract, those being John Collins, Trae Young, and Kevin Huerter, have $81.4 million committed in salary cap spending. And ultimately, the salary cap will go up a bit over the next few years, but there's no doubt there is a lot of money being committed to this young core in Atlanta. This does not include Danilo Gallinari, who only has 2 years left on his deal, with the 2023 season being non-guaranteed, which is why I would not be shocked to see him traded this upcoming season, or if not, the next offseason. If not, then he very well may just get cut, depending on the salary scenarios in Atlanta, considering the fact they already have $150 million committed in spending for next year. That is with Lou Williams, Georgie Dang, Sullivan Hill, Timothy Lua Cabero, and DeLon Wright all being free agents. They also have to consider that Wagner Mcdonough only has 2 more years left on his deal, and then a player option in the third. And then they have the likes of their true young guys that they're going to want to really retain, and DeAndre Hunter, who only has 2 years left and will be eligible for an extension next summer. And the same can be said for Cam Reddish, who is also eligible for an extension next summer. And then Onyeka Okongwu has 3 years left on his deal, with him being eligible for an extension 2 years down the road. Jalen Johnson will also be eligible for an extension, but that is 3 years down the road and is not too much of a concern in the immediate future. So ultimately, the Atlanta Hawks have locked down a good chunk of their core here, but they still have some decisions to make on how much money they want to spend, how many players they want to spend that money on, and how deep they want to go into the luxury tax, because they're going to have to. They already are. I mean, they're $140 million in committed spending this year and $150 for next year. That does include the Danilo Gallinari contract, which sits at $21.4 million, which may end up being cut or traded. But ultimately, even then, they're still sitting at a bit over 130. And then the year after that, they are going to have extensions kick in for DeAndre Hunter and Cam Reddish, if they do decide to keep both of those, with DeAndre Hunter, I would assume, being a lock to stay, and Cam Reddish remains to be seen, as he has been involved in some trade talks. So the point being is the Atlanta Hawks have made some big strides. They've made some good signings, some good extensions, and have locked up a good chunk of their core moving forward, but they still have a lot of decisions to make and need to remain active on their feet and forward thinking when thinking about this Atlanta Hawks group, because they are very good right now, but they have to make sure that the decisions they make in the next 1 or 2 off seasons can allow them to have success long term, because the decisions they made this off season and next off season will probably determine the future of the next 4 or 5 years for the Atlanta Hawks in a significant way, in the way of determining who they keep, how much they pay them, and what that gives them as a roster, and for flexibility to make more moves down the road. That being said, let me know what you guys think of the current roster and contract structure of the Atlanta Hawks getting into the 2021-22 NBA season, and if there's any moves you expect will or will not be made moving forward. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And if you want to hear my Atlanta Hawks season preview, then be sure to click the box on the screen. That being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.